Good afternoon and welcome to our continuing series of in-depth school and community where we're focusing in on the COVID-19 epidemic and what it's doing to our schools here. As you know, we've been running a show pretty much almost every day trying to feature a certain aspect of the issue and how it's affecting our schools and our community. Today we want to take a little bit more of a statewide view, and I'm really pleased to have some very special guests with me. So I'd like to welcome Senator Dan Feltes. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you for having me on, Frank.
You'll notice that he's virtual, and that's where we have to go in most of these meetings now. I'm also pleased to have with us our Senate President, Madam Donna Soucy. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be with all of you today, even in this virtual chamber that we're in.
Yeah, thank you. And our Business Administrator, Mr. Jack Dunn.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. So, Donna, Madam Senator, let me ask you the question first. Where are you guys at in terms of looking at how all of this is affecting your legislation and the ways in which you're trying to deal with those impoverished folks who are looking at how's the economy going to help me?
I think on a number of fronts, as you may have heard, we're not meeting in the Senate chambers right now, but that doesn't mean that we aren't working very hard on behalf of our constituents. I think each of us every day is trying to push out more and more information to constituents so that they have the resources they need, both for their health, but also for the economic challenges that they might be facing, whether it's being unemployed or businesses deemed non-essential. We are trying to get as much information as we can out to those individuals and the individual businesses to ensure that they know that there will be help, both through the state and then eventually as the dollars flow from the federal government into our state to help backfill our budget, but also to help sort of shore up some of the people that have taken a significant hit as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
So what you're saying is that the state is very limited right now in terms of the financial resources it has at its disposal, but there's going to be a lot of money flowing in from the federal government, which you can then re-siphon out, if you will, to those most in need.
Yes, there will be a lot more money that will supplement a lot of existing programs, and I believe there will be a lot of new ones too, particularly trying to help small businesses and other large get back on their feet. It's going to take some time, as we know. We are working through that process. The federal legislation that was most recently passed is going to have a significant impact in helping to restore some of the budgetary holes that we know we're going to experience. But it's going to take some time, and we hope to get back in session so that we can play a role in working through with the governor and the executive branch plans for how to best preserve New Hampshire's economy. But as I said, foremost issue is people's health and their health care. So that's really our primary focus in the short term.
No, that's great. And Senator Feltes, what committees are you working on, and how is your committees going to help, again, trying to stave off a lot of the economic issues that folks are facing?
Well, first of all, thank you, Frank and Jack, for having the Senate President, Soucy, and myself on. Appreciate it. Look, I think, as the Senate President mentioned, all of us are working hard to lift up the issues that are facing our constituents, working with the agencies where we can to connect the dots for people and businesses on the ground. In terms of unemployment insurance, if you've lost a job, or you've had your hours reduced, you can call 271-7700. That's the unemployment insurance application hotline, 271-7700, as well as go online at nhes.nh.gov, nhes.nh.gov. We've been working hard on that issue, and it's important that those unemployment insurance benefits, hopefully the minimum benefit comes up. I will note that the federal delegation, as part of the stimulus package, fought for an additional $600 per week of weekly unemployment insurance benefits. So whatever your weekly benefit amount is, you would add $600. Once that money comes in, it might be 2 or 3 weeks before that happens, but that's critical to keeping these hardworking families afloat, making sure that they meet their basic needs. A lot of them have been living paycheck to paycheck anyways, and now crushed by job loss, they're facing some real challenges, both in terms of subsistence income, making ends meet, but also in terms of healthcare. And during the last economic crisis, the Great Recession, I had the honor and privilege of serving as a legal aid lawyer during that process. And there's a lot of challenges during that process, and there's a lot that can be learned from that last economic crisis about how to lift people up. And I think we're taking some of the steps right now, but there's a lot more work to do. And certainly there's a lot more work to do on some of the stimulus monies that's coming into the state.
Oh, that's great, Senator. That's really great to hear, and I'm sure our folks out there will be very pleased with your comments. Now, Jack, you're in a similar situation as the two senators in terms of dealing with folks who are going to be hit pretty hard with this economic downturn that's surely going to come as a result of the virus. So, what have you done in the district to try and allay some of those fears?
So, part of as administration, we've tried to look at the budget we just put together, and we're due to pass a couple days ago. So obviously that's been put off now until April 13th, but we also felt it's time to pause. And a lot of new positions that we were looking at putting into the system to support the staff, we just cannot do at this point. So we want to take a pause on our budget and bring it a little bit more in line to what the economic realities are. As you both senators were mentioning, this federal money that's coming in, we got to see what that's going to mean. We hear that there's about 13 point some billion for schools. Are we going to get some portion of that? What will that mean? The other piece are the nonprofits that already help support our schools. The Concord Family Y, Boys and Girls Club, they've been impacted by that, and they're in our buildings. So we are doing things to help relieve that. The other things we're doing is helping feed the community. We have applied for the waiver from USDA for the nutritional requirements as well as the summer program. Both of those have been approved. And when we shut down on Friday, on Monday, we were serving meals still. They were pickup for those first 2 days. Now we're using our bus system to transport meals throughout the city. And today we had teamed up with New Hampshire Food Bank as well as a number of volunteers, and over 200 and some meals were delivered throughout the community this morning.
Well, that's great, Jack. That's really great. Senator Soucy, how's the governor been with you guys? What's been his role in working with the New Hampshire Senate and the House, and again, in terms of trying to deal with this issue?
I communicate with the governor regularly, as does the speaker.
We talk nearly every day about the issues that we're confronting. We have put together as senators a tracker of questions that come up amongst our members, their constituents, and submit a lot of those through his office and to him directly so that he knows what's going on the ground and can help respond to that. As you know, many of the things the governor has done so far have been through executive orders. He's had to use extraordinary powers in order to make some of these decisions and make them in a timely fashion so that they benefit all of us and help to mitigate a lot of the harm. The most recent order, obviously, was the stay-at-home order.
Right.
And we certainly can't emphasize enough that people really need to heed that request. It's more than just a suggestion. It really, really will help to flatten the curve, meaning it will help to slow down some of the additional spread of the virus so that we can get a handle on exactly how many folks are out there that do have the virus, but also better manage our resources in our hospitals, our healthcare providers, and our fire and police. I mean, talk about folks who are really on the front lines and are strained by this.
Right.
The ability to get them personal protective equipment is a struggle, and I think we're all on the front lines trying to come up with new and innovative ways to provide those resources to people. Certainly a lot of businesses have stepped up, and the governor has set up an opportunity. There are a couple different programs where businesses can volunteer to sort of retool their manufacturing to start creating personal protective equipment for people.
Yeah.
People are just being asked to step up in new and different ways. And, I think we continue to reach out to the governor to work with him. And he has certainly worked with us and with our federal delegation. And we need to continue doing that because this is truly a crisis that impacts people across all socioeconomic lines and across all, age lines. It's just everywhere, and the potential is really great for there to be a lot of harm if we aren't in this together and trying to move our agenda forward as much as possible to take care of people in our communities.
Yeah, you raise an excellent point, and I know watching Governor Cuomo on the daily broadcast, and so the numbers there are exceeding 50,000, maybe it's 60,000 today, and obviously they don't have the equipment, they don't have the beds, they don't have the resources to deal with it, and they're really, worried about how they're going to be able to manage. And I'm sure, as you've seen, a lot of federal support is coming their way as quickly as possible to try and help. But it sounds like, Senator Soucy, that you guys, the Senate and the governor's office, have, in a sense, gotten ahead of this. And by folks in New Hampshire following through on these stay-at-home orders and utilizing the social distancing, trying not to be in pockets of groups of people, that we have stemmed somewhat of the tide. Now, I know there's been, I think the governor said there might be a surge coming in the next week or two, but our numbers still remain relatively low when compared to the rest of the nation.
Well, I think our numbers are
Relatively low. We're not doing as much testing. I mean, we're testing, those that have certain special indicators, those
Right.
that are very, very sick, those that are healthcare workers, and certainly fire, EMT, and police. We have prioritized some of those. The testing, though, I think is relying on just the number of reported cases would be a misnomer. We know that there are a lot more people that are positive that have not been tested because they're not as symptomatic and requiring as much care. So, I mean, I'd love to believe that we've truly gotten ahead of this, but I think there are some really tough days ahead, some tough weeks ahead of us. And I think that, as you said, Frank, or reiterate, the more that we can do to get people to stay at home, the more we can do to get people to socially distance and to really engage in safe behaviors will make a big difference, so that we don't see the same, hopefully don't see the same kind of surge that like New York City has seen, where we so overwhelm our hospitals that they're really unable to take care of everyone. Now, I will tell you that we are making some plans for that potential surge, and there are designated areas within the community where we've set up what are going to be called surge centers for people who require less care. They're either towards the end of their hospital stay and recuperation, or they are being treated for a lesser injury, perhaps. And those, certainly the hospital will always be the first place people will go, but those are being set up around our state to help, once again, deal with patients that are in less critical need, so that the most critical care need patients are in our hospitals getting that care they need.
God, that's great. Senator Feltus, now, Jack will talk about this in a minute, but, what are you hearing from the business community? I mean, Senator Soucy alluded to the fact that, everyone seems to be trying to pitch in here to help us out. So what are you hearing from local businesses and other organizations, or even, retired nurses and retired doctors are saying, look, can I help you out? I know you guys are in trouble. We lose Dan?
I saw his picture drop off, but I'm not sure.
Well, I guess I have to go to you, Senator Soucy, for that one.
We are encouraging people that have healthcare training to re-enter the profession, or to at least get in line so that we are aware of who they are and where they are, so that if we need them. I mean, obviously, people that have been retired for a period of time tend to be older and tend to be part of a more vulnerable population.
Good point.
But I think we got Dan back. I think people are truly stepping up. We have gone through great efforts to ensure that people who do have skills in the healthcare industry can be redeployed to help fortify our healthcare staff once they start to run short.
That's great. Jack, talk to us about, what... Oh, do we have Dan back? Yeah.
Great to be, I made it back. One of my daughters unhooked the internet.
Hey, you know what? Actually, that's a great segue, Senator Feltus. Talk to us about how your kids are doing with this remote learning.
Well, they're not at school age yet. They're 2.5 and 15 months. But Iris and Josie, they're wonderful. They seem like they're getting feistier and feistier every day in this stay-at-home environment, and it's really enjoyable. And it's been we've been fortunate to spend a lot of time together. I think that's one of the silver linings of everything that's happening right now. And obviously cut out when you're talking about some of the stuff, but speaking of frontline people, just as much as we can, I think it's important to thank everybody that's working on the front line, our firefighters, our police, our state employees, our public health officials, municipal officials, our medical people on the ground. They're risking not just their time, but their very health to help all of us in this crisis. So as much as possible, all of us, let's lift them up and let's thank them each and every day.
No, excellent point. And Jack, talk to us about, what some of the folks that you know in the community have done on behalf of the schools and the city in general.
Oh, well, there's been a number of people that have, between this food bank they had this morning, they send out a thing for volunteers, and no more than 15 minutes later, they're saying, okay, we got enough people. So it's really overwhelming the amount of people that are willing to volunteer and donate their services or their time to help move things forward.
Talk about the nurses and what they did.
So the nurses had gone around, a couple things. Nurses had gone around to everything that they have in the buildings and said, we're not going to use this stuff. So they compiled that, they donated that to the hospital. The hospital reached out to the school district and wanted to do some telemedicine, and we're short on devices. So we have loaned them 30 iPads to let them do telemedicine. And then when it comes to the food service, our food service staff went through all their kitchens, said anything that's perishable, donated it to either the Friendly Kitchen, Salvation Army, Boys and Girls Club, so that they can do their meals. So,
yeah, I think as you both said, it's coming down to everybody has to kind of own this, and everybody has to kind of step forward. It can't leave it to just one person or one group to solve the problem. And I think Senator Soucy, as you said, with all these constituents working together, we can get ahead of it and perhaps not be in the situation that some of our other states have found themselves in at this time.
That's true. That's true. The more we're all in this together, the better off we'll all be. I will tell you, as Senator Feltus said, there's extraordinary work being done at the local community, at the state level. I'm on call every day with the Emergency Management Office, and these are issues that we're confronting today. That even in the states that have the best planning, I don't think anyone has ever fully planned out what would happen in the event of a pandemic as widespread as this one. So we're breaking new ground every day, dealing with response to just simple requests for materials, also dealing with a lot of complex legal issues and how you provide people with information about people who are positive in their area without violating HIPAA laws and privacy and protections. There's a lot that takes a great deal of effort and time to work through, and we're working through it at warp speed to try to make sure that we're protecting our residents.
Yeah, we get some of those too, Senator Soucy. We get information from the governor's office about the changes in the laws to help either for virtual meetings or whatever the case may be. So he's trying to relax some of the laws, or at least to create more opportunity for us to be able to conduct our business in a virtual world to deal with the situation. Because if you kept things the way they were, we'd be handcuffed and would not be able to do the kinds of things we need to do. The other thing that's interesting, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's correct. That's correct. We really would be hamstrung, particularly at the local level. I think communities would not be able to respond in any meaningful way were we not to relax some of those requirements. And yet we know we've still got to be mindful of the public's right to some access to the decisions their government makes.
Yeah, what I was getting at too was, I don't know if you saw it, but New Hampshire and Florida were cited as having the best response in the country to this remote learning, and folks were very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish. And again, it speaks to what you both said about everyone working together and giving us the opportunity to be able to create a good remote learning site. And working with our commissioner and fellow superintendents, and I think we've all had to learn how to do this because it's not something that we were trained in, for sure. But I think folks have really stepped up, and I know Jack will speak to this. He's got children in the district. Our teachers, our aides, our cafeteria workers, our bus drivers, everybody has stepped up, try and make this remote learning experiment something really valuable so that our kids come away with something. And what we're hearing from is, our parents saying, hey, this is great. And I think Senator Feltus alluded to this, is that, I see my kid in a different way now. It's a different kind of experience. I'm home with them all the time, and we're actually doing school together. And it's not like it's homeschooling, but it's sort of a tag along, if you will, with what the school's trying to set up. And that's been very helpful. And I think also what we found is that the communication between the teachers and the students has been really great. So that could be through email, it could be virtual, or it could be a phone call. But again, it's creating that context and that contact, between our students and our families, which has made the experiment, at least so far, working pretty well.
I think there's going to be a lot of parents who have a newfound respect for teachers. After all this.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Jack, you could share a little bit about with your kids at home and what you and your wife have had to do.
Well, yeah, my wife is home with them today, and obviously when they're there themselves for a little bit, let's just say the gaming comes out. So not necessarily the schoolwork. So we do need to keep on top of them. But we tried to create some normalcy. They printed out a flag, put it on the china cabinet, do Pledge of Allegiance in the morning. Abbott Downing is still sending out their morning notes to parents and everything. So it's just as if the school day is happening with all the information. So we try to keep it as normal as we can. Although there's a little bit of excitement, especially since my middle boy at the beginning of the year said he wanted to be homeschooled this year. So I don't know if he had any inclination of something like this, but he's getting his wish of being home, and he's not liking it. So.
Yeah, it's a new world for all of us, and I think all of us are trying to deal with it as best we can. I think, as Jack alluded to earlier, all our meetings now with the school board are going to be virtual, and we're used to having our school board meetings with lots and lots of people being able to come to the meeting and offer their opinion. That's not going to happen, at least not the way it used to, and so we're still trying to figure that out, allowing the public to have an opportunity to chime in, but at the same time, limiting it because it could go on for a long time. So again, these are all new avenues for us to pursue, but we want to maintain the quality of communication with our community as best we can so they understand what it is we're doing and why we're doing it.
The other thing that's been a benefit here is we have ConcordTV in our high school. So this has been a great resource to be able to reach out to the community and link the classroom to the home. Link our meetings tonight. They're helping us tonight broadcast on Channel 6. You and I will probably be the only one in the boardroom, but other than that, that's it. So it is neat how everybody's come together to make this happen.
Yeah. Do either of you have a message you would like to get out to the communities here? Because this broadcast will probably get rebroadcast in Nashua, Portsmouth, and a few other places. So if you guys had a message for folks, the community in general, it would be great.
Donna, you want to go first?
Sure, I'm happy to. Just once again to reiterate that, there's a lot of advice being put out there, but the primary things are wash your hands repeatedly, do it for at least 20 seconds, maintain safe social distancing, stay at home, stay at home, stay at home. If you need to go out to go food shopping or to do something critical, of course you can do that. But outside of that, really try to practice all of the suggestions that we're offering, and know that your state and local government is there working around the clock to ensure the safety of your communities. And just be mindful of that. Obviously, reach out when you need them, but also understand that they are dealing with a situation that is overwhelming a lot of resources. So for folks trying to apply for unemployment or for other services, just recognize it might not happen instantaneously, but that doesn't mean people aren't working really hard to ensure that we are doing absolutely everything we can for folks in the community. And just try to be mindful of other folks. There are a lot of people that are not used to this form of isolation that they're experiencing right now, and actually just, picking up the phone, sending an email, sending a text message, just letting people that are alone know that someone else is thinking of them, I think will help us on the other end getting through this really difficult time.
Oh, thank you. That's a great message.
Well, I would echo that and just add this, is that, just so grateful for everything everybody's doing all around the state. Our teachers, including teachers who have kids themselves,
Right.
are really juggling a tough time right now, and they're working hard. Our teachers all around the state, our state employees in public health, our municipal officials, our medical personnel on the ground, firefighters, police, everybody, as mentioned earlier, that's risking not just spending their time, but risking their very health. And so, to the extent that folks can thank them any way you can, that would be good. And I firmly believe in that fundamental belief that we're all in this together, and that to make it through this, we're going to have to work together, do the best we can. There's going to be challenges along the way. There's challenges in terms of things that Donna mentioned. There's challenges in terms of the supply of ventilators. There's challenges across the board, and it's okay to lift up the challenge. That's the way that we work together. Lift up what you're seeing on the ground. You can only meet the challenge if you identify it, and then we try to work together to solve it. So along the way, don't be afraid to lift up the issues that are really affecting you and your community and your family, because we need to hear from you. Everybody needs to hear from you. You're part of this democracy. You're part of this government. You're part of this overall response. And if we're all in this together, we have to hold each other accountable and lift up the issues and the challenges that we face together.
Yeah, well said, and thank you. And I want to thank you both for your leadership. I mean, your leadership is key to making this work. I know you guys work closely with the governor, with the rest of the House and the Senate, but it's important. And I think, as you've said a number of times this afternoon, it is that collective spirit and everyone doing what they can to try and help out. But your leadership is much appreciated, and I want you to know that, and I want our folks to know that. We're very appreciative of who we have guiding us here in the state of New Hampshire. So thank you both for coming on the show, and thank you for what you do on behalf of New Hampshire.
Well, thank you very much, and look forward to the time we can meet in studio.
There you go. I have to thank our guests. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yep.
Take care.
All right, bye now.
See ya.